So the very first thing that we're going to cover today is how to create a group. All right. So now it's very basic, and you really only have to do this once or twice, depending on how many groups you're creating. But you will notice that on your Hubbli site, you're going to have a tab or a button on your menu bar called Group. Okay. So we're already on that page now, but let's say we were somewhere else on the site. You can always just go find your Groups menu, and you're going to click on that. Okay. So now, if you're logged in as the site administrator, which you should be, or you have, the administrator role on your site, then you actually will be able to create a group. Unlike parents or any basic users who, they won't have the ability to create a group. So this button here that says create a group, it just simply won't show up for them. Okay, so something important to keep in mind. Another thing to keep in mind is that whoever creates this group initially is actually automatically going to be assigned as the group administrator. Okay, and I'll fill you in on what that means. But essentially, they would be able to communicate with their own group right off the bat. Okay, so and just to be clear, they don't have to be an admin of your site, just like you guys are. So actually be a parent if you wanted it to be, but most commonly you would be appointing the group admin designation to a teacher role, so that in essence a teacher can then communicate with his or her own classroom, right, so to the parents of their class. And so there's a couple of different settings that we're going to go through as well when we create the group. But basically, there's two different types of communication groups. So one would be, like a two-way communication where, teachers and parents can both communicate forth within the group wall so that everyone can see. Right. The other way is one-way communication where it's only teachers, starting the conversation. Parents can always reply back to an email that they receive, and it will go back to the original poster. Okay, we'll talk about those, and I'll show you the settings. So let's start by clicking Create a Group. Okay, so the us to do is to just name the group and also give it a description. By the way, everything that you see here that we're going to set up initially, it can always be modified. You can always edit these settings at any time after the group is created. So we're going to go ahead and create a staff group here. Okay, call that onboarding training. Okay, so this is, typically you'd want this group right off the bat, just so that you have that, and it's a good way to introduce the system, a new system to your team. All right, so that's step one, create group and continue. That'll take us to step number two. Great, so here we have our privacy options. Now, typically what you want to do is select private group. Okay, so that will ensure that unless you're adding that parent or member to the group, nobody else will have access. They can try and get in, but unless they're a member of that group, they will not be able to see any of the content, and all of your content and messages, communication will all stay private. So definitely want to go with private group there. Now, if you want, so you can set up a hidden group. The only difference between private and hidden groups are that, really a hidden group won't be visible. So the name of that group won't be visible to members unless they're actually a part of it. The next step here is group invitations, right? So pretty straightforward, who can invite others. You want to go with group admins only. You'll notice that's a common trend actually with these settings. That just means that, the admin has full control over who is part of the group and who's not. So group posts here. So which members of the group are allowed to post? So now a group post is basically an email that goes out. So we call it a post, but really it's just, like a tidbit of information that you would write in the group. And from there, you hit post update. So what that does is it sends out an email. So let's say you have 25 parents in the group. it'll send out an email, the same email, to all 25 of those parents, and you only have to enter it and post it once. So it's kind of like, sending an email, kind of like a mass email to all the group members there. So now, depending on your preference, and we've seen this done both ways. Typically, I'll recommend group admins only to start with. That way, it's set up like one-way communication. So that's what I mentioned before. So what that means then is parents will not be able to start a conversation that will trigger an email to go to everyone in the group. So all the parents, right? So that means that only teachers or designated group admins, which can be parents, right, but typically teachers, can communicate with the group, okay? But keep in mind, even if you have it so group admins can make a post, then parents can always still communicate back to whoever originally posted that. Okay, so if a teacher posted it, I'm a parent and I've got an email, I can simply just reply from my email inbox, and that will go back to the teacher's inbox. It will also be archived within Hubbli in the teacher's private messages. So let's move on to comments here. Very similar to the posts, but if you ever use anything like Facebook, you'll know what a comment is on top of a post. You can say that only group admins can do that, or if you want parents, to be able to chime in after the fact, you can set this to all group members basically, so that they wouldn't be able to start the conversation and notify everyone else in the group, but they could always log in and make a comment. If you don't want that, I recommend just going with group admins only. That's definitely the safe bet, and there's no harm there. And finally, email subscription defaults. Very basic. You want this set to all email. You'll notice that they are already set up to receive communication. Okay, so that's best practice here. All right, so that was the hardest part. And once we're done with that, and you guys will become experts at setting up your groups. So now we just have a few more steps here. So group docs, I'm going to leave all these on, for training purposes, but you can always just toggle this on or off just with that check mark here. Just something to keep in mind. And, with most features here, you can choose, like a minimum role, whether it's a group admin or a member, to be able to create these of documents. And what these docs are, it's a collaborative tool just like Google Docs. So, someone could post a document like a staff member, and, like a fellow staff member could go, they get home and basically make changes to that document. So it becomes like a working document for your groups. Okay, so let's go to the next step. It wants you to upload a profile photo. And so now we are on media control here. Again, I'm going to leave this on, but you can toggle it off if you'd like. And so that's it. That's the last step. You don't have to worry about inviting anyone. You just have to click finish, and I'm going to show you in a moment how we add members to the group. Okay, so that can all be done in bulk as well. And so, by the way, here is the group. So this is kind of a sneak peek of what the group looks like.